Yo, JD here, and as you can see, we are back on F1 24 and back with some league racing action. Apologies that it's been a little while, real life has got in the way. I also wanted to upload my round 15 at Belgium, which was a 100% race. Unfortunately, that file was corrupted, so I couldn't upload that. That was actually quite a entertaining race, but you can watch my live stream for that if you wish to watch it. And also live stream for this one, Las Vegas. There was quite a few copyright issues since we just had the Las Vegas Grand Prix. That should be up and running again now. But obviously this is the highlights. And in the championship, this is round 16 of 19. Carl, if he basically beats me this race by any amount of points, he wins the championship. I've missed a couple races myself, but mainly he has just been Mr. Consistent. And my main fight is with F1 Alman for P2 in this championship, and I'll be showing you the standings at the end of this video. But coming into this in Q1, as you can see, struggling quite a bit, and I just seem to have this at certain tracks, despite me feeling like I'm driving quite well and enjoying it. I just don't have the pace in the qualifying. In the race, I always seem to have the pace, some very, very strong race pace. End up winning some races from below P9, but round here you can see, not quick at all, and it was just very bizarre to me because in the time trial I got into the 29s. In Grand Prix mode my PB was 30.2, 30.3, equal cars, and yeah, I just don't understand. Online I just didn't have the pace. I felt like I was driving well. The way I deployed my ERS was very similar to my rivals because I've watched their onboards.
Barely in the 30s though.
And you can hear me say there, barely in the 30s, and look, we just got into Q3 by 1,000th of a second from my teammates. So, yeah, things were not looking good. So this is my final lap I did. And in this first sector, particularly this first sector, I really struggled. So not a great turn one. You can see lifting off the throttle there. Watching other people's on boards, they were taking that flat out. And that's probably what I should have been doing. But you can see we're already almost a 10.5 down from what I did on the previous lap. And you know, the first sector, what's this going to be? A 26.1, which is not good. A lot of people were doing 25.7s. Didn't deploy my ERS there. In this section, kept it in the medium. A lot of people were, or some other people were keeping it in none. But most people were doing the same as me. But apart from the first two turns, I felt the rest of the lap really wasn't too bad. And you will see by my comments at the end of this lap, and you know, if you're watching me on stream, I was very, very perplexed of where this time was because I felt the setup was good. Like I said, in the Grand Prix mode, we were doing mid to low 30s quite consistently, which is where I'd need to be relatively close to the front of the field. Don't need to be on pole, especially around a track like this.
Yeah, gaining a bit in the straight line, but nothing
we're
crazy.
barely gaining any time on a 31 or something that we've done so far. And yeah, we could have gained a 10.5, 2 tenths in that first sector, but even that wouldn't be putting me anywhere near the front row. And coming towards the line, now my last sector, some people said I could have used a lot more ERS and saved it then, but my last sector wasn't too bad compared to others, and it's a 30.9, or sorry, 30.8, and that is 9th and almost last. And you can see we're 7 tenths away. And this isn't the first time. This happened at tracks at Monza, other tracks as well, where we ended up having really good race. Monza even won the race around there, so not the first time it's happened. It's a little bit confusing, but coming into the race, I felt quietly confident in my pace. So we've got 5 lights here, starting on mediums, which is really the only strategy you can do. If you start on the hards, you're just going to get undercutted massively. You're not going to be able to make progress in the first stint. So pretty much everyone is going to be on the medium tyres. We'll already make up one position going through to turn one, and the goal here is just to do the best I can, just damage limitation. Carl's already, I think, leading this race, so it's very likely that he is going to win the championship unless something catastrophic happens. He's been Mr. Consistent very fast as well, and we just got to do what we do best, just our race pace, our race performances. We've done quite a few good ones this season, but just not quite consistent enough. But let's just see what happens here, and we're already up into P8, and yeah, good start to the race. But as I skip towards the end of lap 2, you can see I had to defend quite a lot from the kick behind me. So you can see we're very low in the ERS, and at this stage of the race, the pace wasn't actually looking that great. Bit of an instant up ahead. I think Ickle had a bit of contact with these cars up ahead, and he suffered some wing damage. So now we're up into P7, and my mentality was just to try and pick people off, bring myself closer to the front. I felt pretty optimistic that there would be a safety car, so just try and put myself in the best position possible. Really, really hard to save the ERS around here, and yeah, it's just a really, really big management game because most of the lap is flat out. You just got to do your best. You can see the top two have already broken away. So this is the train for P3. So we're going to go down the inside of the kick, trying to catch him a little bit off guard here, because overtaking on the straights of a DRS is actually pretty difficult, especially if you're in the DRS train. Going around the outside of this kick, getting the move done. And during this race, I couldn't work out if I was either quick in a straight line or I was quick in the corners. I just couldn't really figure that out. I think I was quite quick in the corners because the middle sector seems to be gaining quite a lot of time in people in the twisty section. But you see, we're up into P6 now, so making quite decent progress and just trying to get as close as I can and not overuse the battery, because it's actually really difficult to cover it around here. But a lap or two later, up towards the 80%, and again, you're about to see down the straight, it's not that easy to overtake unless someone decides to not push with the battery whatsoever. So we've got Max Schumacher up ahead, got the kick behind us, and I think he decides to just let me go here. Doesn't really put up too much of a fight. It sees red light flashing, which indicates he's either on no ERS or just very low in the deployment. So we get that bit done, and now we're up into P5, so making up 4 positions, and my two main rivals for the championship are out by themselves. But again, just got to maximise what I can. Lap 7 in P5, not really too bad at this stage. But as we skip on towards the end of lap 8, guys up ahead of me are swapping positions, and you can see we are pretty high on the ERS. So this next lap or so, we can actually maybe start to attack the guys up ahead of me. Stefanich, sorry if I pronounced that right, decides to pit, and that's actually quite early to go into the pit. So now we're up into P4, and the guy ahead of me, P3, Esteban, doesn't have DRS ahead of him. So this should be quite a simple pass, and this was a little bit confusing to me. As we come off the exit onto the main straight, I thought this would be a really simple overtake, but he decides to really, really fight this. I don't know if he didn't want to lose 2 positions on the straight, or not quite sure what he's doing. But you can see, we've got the DRS, but he's using so much of the battery. That's how powerful the battery is. Even if you have a DRS, it's so powerful. So go down the inside, make sure we're fully alongside. We do leave room on the right-hand side, but he tries to go side by side and gets caught up in an instant there. I left him the room. Didn't get reported for it or anything at all, and that has brought out the safety car, or the virtual safety car, and I thought the leaders had already gone past, but they decided to pit as well at the same time. So if that came out just a little bit later, because they were quite a few seconds up the road, that could have been an absolute game changer for this race. But they were fortunate enough to spot that. Came out early enough where they went into pits, and now we're into a net P3 in this race. As you hear me say, not sure why he was trying to go side by side. Don't know if he just didn't want to lose 2 positions there. I'm not too sure. If I was him, I probably would just let me go and then slip him behind. But it is what it is. But now we're in P3, and my main rivals for the championship are right ahead of me. So within 12 laps, we managed to go from P9 to P3. So as always, managed to do quite well in the race. Get caught a little bit off guard here as Invincible F1 is trying to go down the inside, so we cannot afford to lose the DRS to this top 2, my main championship rivals. I know they're probably the fastest on race pace in this field, so I couldn't afford to be sitting behind another driver, and all I've got to make sure now is that I'm within the 1 second detection point so I get the DRS. And this track round here, if you watch PSGL or WR, it's all about the last lap. You don't really want to be leading going down that main straight into the last lap. You want to be in second place. That's where you want to be going into this last lap, going through this section. So as long as we're thereabouts, we just need to conserve our battery as much as possible for that last lap and really just position ourselves in the right point. But you can see we are well within the detection point, so we've done exactly what we needed to do as Carl takes the lead of this race. And yeah, right now, a pretty good start to races. Alwyn makes a bit of a mistake, so he seemed to be struggling quite a bit with this final chicane. And Alwyn I'm sure he doesn't mind me saying, is a driver who's very, very aggressive. We haven't really had incidents before, but he's a driver who doesn't concede and will attack you no matter what the situation. Even if he's running on 5% of the ERS, he will just burn the ERS to just overtake you. And it can be frustrating as a driver because sometimes you need to work together to not lose the DRS to the cars ahead or get a better overall game. But he's one of these drivers who kind of doesn't care. He will just attack you no matter what, even if it's going to not really benefit him overall. So always got to keep that in mind, and that's something you pick up when you race from certain drivers within the league that you're doing, when you're racing on a consistent basis. And you can see here again, he just decides to use the battery. So we've got 10 laps of the race to go. I'm not really going to fight this too much at all. If he really wants to burn his ERS and get into that second place, then so be it. I knew there'd be plenty more opportunities for me to be doing that with 9 laps of this race to go. So moving on to lap 16 now, behind the top 2 once again, and I think Alwyn's going to make another mistake through this final chicane, and we're just going to take advantage again. See, he is burning his battery here, but then decides to back off, and luckily we are within the detection point of Carl up ahead. So my mind was just on that last lap for now, just making myself put myself in the right position for this last lap, making sure I had enough of the ERS. You can see we're very low on the battery at this stage here, so we had to defend from Alwyn once again. So he's really trying to get in the second place at all times. So we're both just running the battery. If I can speak properly, Ickle has retired, which has brought out the safety car again. This means we're going to go onto a new set of mediums, and actually a few people did decide to stay out, just take a bit of a gamble. Did cross my mind, but I know the new mediums at this stage are probably going to be a much, much faster tyre, and most people will be pitting, so it just makes sense to pit for the mediums at this stage of the race. So we're going to let P2, my championship rival, up ahead of me. We just got to try and finish ahead of him. That's the main thing. Although the championship is pretty much done, you never know. So we just got to put ourselves there for as long as possible in this championship. Trying not to get caught off guard this time, and we do get caught off guard, but then so does Alman behind me, so we don't actually have any real pressure, don't have to waste a battery. And now we have 4 laps of this race to go, and we've got 3 cars up ahead of Carl who are on the hard tyres, so they haven't pitted. They're just taking a bit of a gamble because they really have nothing to lose. So as we go into this middle sector, you can see we're gaining quite a lot of time. Carl tries to go down the inside of LRR. Boz doesn't make it work, and you can see we're almost 100% of the battery here, so we're in a really good position battery wise. But again, got to think of the last lap of the race. It is actually pretty difficult to be saving the battery around here, so just trying to get a good exit going to this main straight, which we do as Carl gets a little bit caught up with the Mercedes. Then we get 2 and 1, and now went to P3, and this has actually worked out for us really well. The 2 guys ahead of me haven't pitted on the hard tyre, or they're just on old hards. And you can see having to use the battery again because I knew Alman would be attacking me. And Carl has lost a number of positions. So this is actually very, very good for us in our chances or hope of trying to bring the championship at least down to the last race. If we could do that and make it as difficult as possible, that is really the goal. But you can see, look how much battery we have used just in that exchange. That's how quickly it is. There's Alman attacking me once again. And no, it's up to him if he wants to do that. But again, this is just going to be costing us time, making sure I stay ahead of him, because if I can put 2 cars between myself and Alman, that's going to set me up really, really nicely for the end of this race. So go down this main straight, not using the overtake, because you can already see batteries being used quite a bit, and we've got much, much fresher tyres than these guys here. So let him have this corner on the exit. Think about the exit. It's a left-hander after, so force him to defend on the inside. Put him on the inside, and we're just going to go around the outside of him to get the inside for the right along the spear. And that was a very nice move, using the freshness of these medium tyres up into P2. And that was a lovely move. Really, really done precisely going through into there. And now we've just got to wait for the DRS. And you can see we've still got quite a bit of the battery. And we're on lap 22. And yeah, just the goal here was just to overtake him without using as much battery as possible. Just a little bit of battery, just to get a bit of momentum. And then Alman is going to make this move as well, and try and put a car between myself and Alman. But the problem is, the guy up ahead of me is Alman's teammate, so I imagine he isn't really going to be making it too difficult for him. So we're going to get this move done very long straight. He was using quite a bit of battery here just to try and make it difficult for me, but luckily we get that move done. And you can see, just going down that straight, despite not using that much battery at all, we're down into below 30%, so that's how much it drains the battery. And right now, we've just got to try and conserve as much as possible for the final lap of this race. So we're into the lead of the race, so started P9, now we're in the lead of this race, and really in the box seat. But again, if you watch leagues such as PSGL or the eSport drivers, you don't want to be leading going into this last lap. You want to be letting someone overtake you here or in this middle sector. And unfortunately, a lot of DRS chicken is involved, which isn't against the rules, but that is just the name of the game and something you have to think about. So coming into the penultimate lap of this race, we're making a bit of a set go for final chicane, so kind of similar to what Alwyn did. And again, we're not going to be using the battery here. Carl has brought himself back into contention, back into P3, and you can see just running the medium ERS. We're going to switch it to none here and try and let Alwyn be ahead of me. So I want to be behind him, but get the DRS. So let him be in the lead. And if I'm second going to this last lap, that is absolutely no problem with me, because no one wants to be leading going to this last lap. So I don't really need to use the ERS. I don't need to defend here because it's absolutely fine. I don't need to be leading. So we're just going to let Alwyn really take charge going to this. I'm not trying to overtake him at all. You can see we're just running absolutely no ERS. And he brakes quite early on this inside here. So maybe he's just trying to practice a little bit for this last lap. But just being very, very conscious of that. And you can see we're now on 100% of the battery. So we are in the absolute box seat right now. This is exactly where you want to be. But the problem is this very long straight after this. If I just sit behind him here, then Carl is going to overtake me. And my main focus was beating Carl as much as possible. So using a little bit of the battery. So just enough to deter Carl. But then try and stay behind Alwyn unless he runs new ERS. But you can see his red light is flashing, so he's not using any of the ERS, and we're just going to get this move done. Because what I was thinking here is that in the first DRS zone after turn 2, I was just going to basically run no ERS, and in that middle sector just let them pass, be in second place going down the main straight, and then that would be my best chance of winning this race or just beating Carl at least. You can see going to here we're running absolutely no ERS, so going through this section we're not going to be trying to use any of the battery whatsoever. But if he doesn't overtake me down this straight, then we're going to have to play a bit of DRS checking, because if I just stayed in the lead here going to the main straight, then I would just be eaten alive down that very, very long straight. See, we're not using ERS, we're not even defending. So as we go through into this section, this is a very awkward corner. I stay all the way to the right hand side, he's on the inside. I brake quite early here because it's really hard to see the reference, so earlier than I wanted. That lets sign through. Now I'm going side by side with Alwyn, and I just want to make it difficult, so I'm trying to go side by side of him. And yeah,
this guy can't fucking race.
Yeah, and you'll hear some comments here.
This guy is a fucking clown, this guy.
And yeah, obviously very frustrated in the heat of the moment. That incident, I think, was just quite unfortunate. I just wanted to make it difficult for Alwyn, and I didn't really feel I had enough space on the outside. I managed to stay ahead of him because my main fight for P2, but that has caused us to fall outside the top 10, and a very anti-climatic end to the race. And yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty angry in the moment. I know a lot of people said with the DRS chicken thing that was unfair for me. I didn't personally mean to break that early. I didn't make contact with Alwyn. I think I thought it was actually Carl who made contact with me, so I was trying to let Alwyn through, kind of misjudged my own braking. I didn't make contact with Alwyn or anything, but then going side by side through there, I felt like the space was kind of closed a little bit too quick. We ended up colliding. There wasn't enough for a car's width, and with this contact model, you're kind of asking for trouble. So he did get a penalty after the race. However, since we both finished outside the top 10 in points, it kind of didn't really change anything whatsoever. So he got a penalty, got some penalty points for driving and stuff. So yeah, these are the standings. That means Carl has won the championship, and I think it's very deserved. He's just been ultra consistent. Even if we did the same amount of races, I'm pretty sure he would have won the championship as well. But between myself and Almin, have a little bit of a history. At Singapore, he pushed me off there, and in other races, we raced each other very, very hard. So a little bit of a rivalry brewing between myself and Almin. We've got Qatar this weekend, and yeah, that should be quite an entertaining one. But thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this, and I will catch you very, very soon. Peace.